The Master of the Elements, without a doubt one of the most fun classes to play in Guild Wars 2 and my main for a number of years. The Elementalist brings the thunder to the table. In this guide, I will cover everything that you need to know to get started with the Elementalist. Make sure to like the video and subscribe to the channel for more Guild Wars Reforged and Guild Wars 2 content. So let's go ahead and start talking about what the Elementalist is. The Elementalist is a light armor class that utilizes the powers of air, fire, water, and earth to overwhelm enemies with elemental force or to heal allies with their magic. Given this, each attunement has different strengths and weaknesses and the ability to switch through them in combat, and that's what really makes this class unique and shine. The profession mechanic for the Elementalist is attunement swapping. Elementalists cannot swap weapons in combat. However, each one of the 4 attunements acts as a brand new set of skills they can use on the fly depending on their need in combat. Fire attunement skills typically deal decent strike damage as well as inflict the burning condition, dealing damage over time. Water attunement chills and makes foes vulnerable while also being able to heal the Elementalist and its allies. Air attunement focuses on high strike damage and offers forms of crowd control, while Earth attunement focuses on defenses, uptime of a buff called protection, which reduces incoming damage, and inflicting the condition called bleeding for damage over time. If you are counting, that is a total of 20 different skills an Elementalist can use in combat at any given time. The trick of playing the Elementalist correctly is knowing which attunement cycle you should go into and use them to their best capability. Because of this, however, the Elementalist gets a rap for being a higher APM class, action per minute class, as well as being in downstate frequently. Given all the skills that you can use and all the different pathways that you can take, as well as being kind of squishy in combat, the learning curve here is fairly difficult to start out. The Elementalist at a base can only use a handful of weapons until later where they can unlock other weapons down the road. To start, the Elementalist can use the staff, the scepter, dagger main hand, dagger offhand, and a focus offhand. More weapon combinations open up when we begin to look at the elite specializations that the Elementalist can use. I will cover this more under the Elite Specialization section. For the expansion Secrets of the Obscure, Elementalists can unlock both the Weapon Master training and then the Expanded Proficiency account unlocks for their class. The Weapon Master training allows for the Elementalist to pick up the Warhorn offhand, the Sword main hand, and a Hammer as playable options siphoned from their Elite Specializations. The Expanded Proficiency unlocks the ability to use a pistol or simply just become a wizard with a gun. Lastly, non-unique to the Elementalist, they can also use the Spear, which comes from Janthier Wilds. There is no right or wrong way to play with these weapons as they allow you to build your kit basically how you want it. Personally, I'm a fan of the double daggers, the hammer, and the spear, but that's just simply my opinion. The Elementalist has a set of skills that add flavor type to any kind of combat that you get into. Arcane skills focus on dealing critical damage and usually are instantaneous. Cantrips are defensive style skills aimed to help avoid damage and escape danger. Elementalists can also use conjure skills, which allows them to summon an elemental weapon for a time to attack and deal damage to enemies. However, I will say just blatantly, these tend to be fairly weak. Glyphs are unique as they change their capabilities depending on which attunement you are in for the Elementalist. For example, in Fire attunement, the Glyph of Lesser Elemental summons a Lesser Fire Elemental, while doing so in Earth summons a Lesser Earth Elemental. Lastly, Signet skills have both passive and active effects. However, once they are activated, the passive effect goes on a cooldown until the active effect can be activated again. For the Elementalist, there are a total of 5 core trait lines that they can spec into to enhance their skills, basically corresponding with that respective element. The Fire trait line increases damage and burning, along with increasing its might generation. Might is a powerful buff that increases all outgoing damage for a time. Air attunement focuses on improving strike damage and critical strike damage, while also improving movement speed all around. The Earth trait line focuses on damage reduction and increasing the effects of bleeding. Water attunement has an emphasis on healing, removing harmful conditions from the Elementalist and its allies, as well as sharing auras with nearby friendlies. Lastly, the Arcane trait line focuses on improving attunement swapping and offering a benefit for each of the attunements that you may enter. To change their capabilities further, each class has access now to 4 elite specializations that allow them to change their gameplay in unique ways. Tied to the Heart of Thorns expansion, the Elementalist becomes a Tempest. with the unique ability to overload their current attunement for massive effects, damage, or healing. The attunement swapping, however, tends to be a bit slower compared to the core class. The Tempest also gains access to the Warhorn weapon, which offers buffs to allies and damage and disruption to enemies. They also gain access to a set of shout skills that benefit allies while also usually having detrimental effects to enemies. For the Path of Fire expansion, Elementalists become Weavers, allowing them the unique ability of mixing elements at the same time. For example, if you were in Fire Attunement and then switch to Earth Attunement, your first skills will now be Earth skills, while your last two will be Fire. With the Weaver, the attunement swapping cooldown is heavily reduced. Weavers also gain access to the Sword, which allows for a fairly good strike and condition damage, as well as a decent amount of mobility. Weavers also gain access to Stance skills, which affect their attunements in a variety of ways during the duration of those stances. For the End of Dragons expansion, the Elementalist becomes the Catalyst, gaining access to a new ability called Jade Sphere. While in combat, the Catalyst gains energy. That energy is then used to drop an area of effect depending on their current attunement, the Jade Sphere. This works in conjunction with their new weapon, the Hammer. The Hammer offers a number of ways to complete combos while in combat. To complete a combo field, and a combo finisher are needed to be done in that order. The Jade Sphere offers that combo field, and many of the other Hammer abilities offer ways to finish that combo. Each time that these combos are created, the Catalyst generates an aura, and every time that the Catalyst generates an aura, the Catalyst gains a stack of elemental empowerment, increasing all stats across the board. As mentioned, the Hammer is a brutal weapon, and it's honestly one of my favorite to utilize, truth be told. The Catalyst also gains access to a set of augment skills, which become empowered if you use them within their respective combo field. For example, if you're using the healing skill Soothing Water while inside a water sphere that you have dropped, it reduces the cooldown time of that healing skill. Lastly, we have the Evoker, which is tied to the Visions of Eternity expansion. The Evoker gains access to familiars, which are selected before entering into combat. These familiars are tied to each one of the 4 attunements, and they build up charges while you use your skills. After so many ability uses, they can then use their familiar skill. After 3 uses of the familiar skill, it becomes empowered, allowing for a much more powerful version of that skill to be utilized. Uniquely for Visions of Eternity, however, the Evoker does not gain access to a brand new weapon. The Evoker instead gains access to a set of meditation skills, which become stronger if your selected familiar corresponds with that elemental meditation. The elite specializations for the Elementalist are great, as they essentially make you feel like you're playing a brand new class. There's unique little mini games that you have to manage while you are playing these so that you can play it more appropriately. The Elementalist is one of the most fun and challenging classes in the game, but I 100% believe it is worth it. Because it is fast and it's capable of swapping attunements, I never find myself being bored with its gameplay. I mean, of course, the learning curve is a bit tough, but it's totally worth it when you're able to pull off appropriate combos, survive out in the wild on your own. It's really a lot of fun. If you are new to Guild Wars 2 and this has piqued your interest, click this video here to see the new player roadmap for Guild Wars 2 in 2026. As always, stay caffeinated, folks.